Hello and greetings. Welcome to this broadcast. This is a wonderful day. It is always a great day to be alive and to be well. I am hopeful that the internet service provided by GECOM would be efficient enough for this broadcast to last uninterrupted. But if it does, don't blame me. Please let me know whether you can hear me clearly and you can see clearly as well, so that I can proceed. Let me know whether you can hear and see clearly, please, so that I can proceed with this very important discussion. As you can see from the topic, there has been a petition that was submitted to the U.S. Embassy yesterday for the government, for the president, as a matter of fact, to be sanctioned along with other officials. And to that I will speak this morning, along with the fact that there is yet to be the commencement of the recount of votes here in Guyana. Claire, thank you so much. So shalom. Shalom, if you're a saint, means that there's peace bestowed upon you, and that it doesn't matter what happens, Yahweh is still in charge and it is always well. So greetings and thank you for joining me. If you don't mind, please invite someone who you know is normally unable to receive notifications, so that they can be aware that I'm live, because only a moment ago somebody said I was live last night and they still did not receive notifications. So it seems to be more and more people being added to this list. So kindly do that for me. But this is, as you know, a very important time for us as saints. And the reason why I speak to these electoral matters is because I do not desire for any saint in the kingdom who reside in Guyana or has an interest in politics here, it maybe be one in the diaspora, I do not wish for you to become ill-informed and deceived, thereby speaking that which brings absolutely no truth or justice in the true sense of the word, or redress to these matters. My mind is not about who wins and who loses. It's about the saints not being involved in that which is very deceptive and that which is unlawful. So I hope I've made myself clear. And of course I'll make myself clear to somebody. I promise you will still say that I'm speaking because I'm supporting somebody and supporting somebody else. I do not support, thank you so much for sharing, I shall not support any political party in Guyana. I refuse to do it because they are no different. I would not do it. The politics in this country does not lend itself to anything sensible. I am not going to do it. Somebody said the broadcast is a bit choppy, so it's already started, I guess. But I refuse to support anything. Blessings, Rennie. Anything resembling Guyana's politics. I don't support politics across the world in general. It is an evil system. It is a devilish system. It is not a system that is righteous. So I do not support it. What I support is there being uprightness and justice. There being an adherence to the law, as long as the law is upright. That's what I support. I do not tolerate, and I will never tolerate, anyone who seeks, good morning, who seeks to totally disregard what is lawful and behave as if it is okay to do things that are unlawful and nobody must speak. That is what I would not support. And what I would not support is the saints. Somebody said I'm cutting off at times. I'll try to switch my... Let me know if this is better, please. I've just switched from GT to Digicel, and I told you last night both are atrocious. If this is better, we can proceed. Yes, it's the internet. The internet is ridiculous. But I've switched from GT Wi-Fi service. I'm now using my mobile data. Let me know if that is better, please, so that I can proceed. And that's exactly what I was saying. They would like our children to use the internet to learn at home. How would you do this at this forum? Okay, so it's clear. So I was issuing, before those of you now joining, I'm issuing a very, very important caveat here. I do not deal with politics. I do not support politics. I do not tolerate any saint saying that they have this great interest in voting for anybody, especially if you are aware of what these people stand for. I would never accept that. However, because I am aware that there are saints who are involved emotionally and everything else in these political matters, I will speak to it. Thank you for the feedback. So this is better. Digicel is out doing GTT this morning. Good. Now, a petition was filed to the United States of America Embassy in Georgetown, Guyana. And that petition was signed by some 6,800, I think they said, overseas-based Guyanese. So persons who are not in Guyana, that's what some reporters said, would have signed this petition that was submitted by an attorney, and that petition would have borne a request for the United States of America to sanction David Granger. I think it's Valda Lawrence, Mingo, and somebody else, and a few people. This is my point to you all. Who, and I've always asked this, and I've always said it to you, who governs electoral processes in Guyana? The answer is the Guyana Elections Commission, called GECOM. GECOM is a body that is considered to be autonomous. They have power to act like the judicial system, like the courts. Nobody controls GECOM. GECOM is responsible for the electoral processes. The PPP Civic is not responsible for electoral processes in Guyana. The APNU AFC is not responsible for electoral processes in Guyana. The Guyana Elections Commission is the only body vested by law with the authority to deal with electoral processes in this country. GECOM has got at its head a chairman and 6 commissioners. The 6 commissioners are 3 divided into 3 from the PPP Civic, that's the opposition, and 3 from the APNU AFC coalition. These 7 people have got responsibility to ensure that the electoral process in this country goes according to the law, which is the Representation of the People Act, not according to the request of some political party, not according to how somebody feels. The Guyana Election Commission commissioners and the chairman, along with the CEO, have a mandate to ensure that the electoral process is governed and strictly guided by the law of Guyana, which is the Representation of the People Act. It is not governed by how people feel. And there is a situation at hand that is bringing great grief to anybody who understands the legal system of this country. Because it seems as if the laws of this country, and I don't want saints to be caught up in that. If you are a saint, I'm speaking to you this morning. You should never allow yourself to be caught in the trap where you are agreeing to disregard what is lawful and what is just. Now, you should not regard it as unlawful, and you should not regard it as unjust. But you should never tolerate, because of political affiliation, because I'm saying to you clearly here today, if your intention to support any party is because of your race, you are racist, you are wicked, and you are lost. No saint is supposed to support any political party because you're East Indian or because you're Afro-Guyanese. Good morning, good to see you, Corbin. If you say that you're saved and your support for a political party is based on race, because you call yourself black, I'm not a black person. I've never been black. You see my complexion. So if you say you're African, and that is why you support the AFC coalition, or you're East Indian, so that's why you support PPP Civic, you are lost. You're not a saint. You're wicked, you are evil, and you're racist. Because your decision making is driven by racial undertones and not Yahweh's word. And if because of your race you're saying that APNU AFC is supposed to be in power, good to see you, Kev, or PPP should be in power, you are equally wicked. It means you're not considering the wicked hedonistic behavior of both parties. You're considering whether it matches your race. I will support neither of them. And I don't care who gets mad, I don't. I would never support either of them because, number one, I don't support any party that says that homosexuals are supposed to be considered worthy of that great degree of respect that we have to have our children be taught by them and taught how to understand homosexuality. I would never support y'all. The minute you begin to threaten the well-being of my child and my child's moral upbringing, I will never support you, ever, never. When you're going to say to me that there's one house lot per family, imagine that. All this land we have in this country, and you're going to have policies, both of y'all, that there's one house lot per family. When you are in office, you have 4 and 5 in your house. I have never seen a minister in this country, never seen a minister in this country who has entered the political arena at one level financially and left at that level or slightly below. All of y'all become millionaires when you enter politics. All of you. So Corbin is asking a question. Is it wrong for Christians to vote? Yes, it's wrong if you're voting for what is wicked. A vote, Corbin, and I understand the innocence of your question. A vote by a Christian is an endorsement by that Christian. That's what voting is. To elect someone means you've chosen to that or to have that party rule you as an endorsement that you support what they do. Now, I would like to see the Christian who tell me that they support any government that says your son and daughter must be protected because they're LGBTQ, whatever it is. How could you tell me as a Christian you support that? Or a person say they support that as a Christian, and then tell me that God is against homosexuality? I don't understand how that quality of reasoning. So although I would never vote, it does not reduce my right to speak to that which is unjust in regarding these matters, because it's about the church. I'm seeing saints getting involved in this nonsense and I'm speaking to it. But at the same time, I want to make you aware of the underlying evil that's at play in this situation. And you must not be a part of injustice. That's the whole point I'm making to you. So there was an agreement made between the leader of the opposition, Barra Jagdeo, who is not, by the way, a presidential candidate, and David Arthur Granger, who's a president we call incumbent. If he wins, then he returns. They agreed that there'll be a recount, and I don't know why they would have. I said it, spoke to this so you can watch other broadcasts, but just for the sake of those who knew. They agreed in an unlawful manner. That's the first thing. They should have never agreed to any recount of anything without due process being followed. So both Granger and Jagdeo were wrong. The chairman of GECOM was also wrong, because you cannot agree to do something that's illegal. You can never agree to a recount unless there is a determination by GECOM that the process that was completed was going to be set aside, because GECOM's commissioners would have met And GECOM commission would have scrutinized the statements of poll, and they would have arrived at the conclusion that the elections would have been obfuscated, not transparent. The elections would have been flawed in some way, and GECOM decides, based on these flaws, we are not going to accept these results. The chairman never made a declaration to that extent. Never. So if she's never made a declaration that the elections that were completed in terms of not the election, declarations were completed for 10 regions, if she never ruled on that, then she should never have agreed to any recount. I have another question from Elizabeth Hamilton. So do you believe that Christians should run in the future for president? If you do not like corruption, why not try running for president? I always feel if believers take those positions, the world will be better. Elizabeth, that's where the misconception is, ma'am. The world could never be better. And that's where Christians get it wrong. The world will never be better. The world is not supposed to be better. It's a Jesus concept that is entirely erroneous and wicked. The Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, said that the world is going to get worse. Men's heart will fail them for fear because of evil. The love of people shall grow cold. The world can't be better. If the world gets better, the Messiah, Yeshua, will never return. Shalom, Apostle Joshua. So the world can't be better. And Christians should never get themselves involved in political foolishness. We are supposed to be hated for righteousness' sake, not loved for political position. Because, for example, me, I could speak with a clear conscience. Nobody could tell me them on any, they could say what they want, but nobody could say that I have voted for any party. Therefore, my speech is not seasoned with compromise or bias. But we are almost headed to 2 months. Of course, the prophetic part of which I'll post a video and speak to that shortly or soon. But on the 1st of March, anybody can remember this, the video is up on my YouTube channel, Nigel London TV. I prophesied the Sunday before elections began that this will be an election you will never see again in terms of its nature. I said that parents will tell their children and their grandchildren about this election because there'll never be another one like it. Have you ever seen anything like this in Ghana? I prayed a prophecy for you to hear it when I'm doing another broadcast. But on the 1st of March, one day before anybody went to the poll, in terms of the general population, Yahweh said to speak to the church and the nation. You must understand what lies ahead of you. Nobody had voted yet. And you're seeing the exact prophecy come to pass, whereby you've never seen this. 2 months, and you don't know who's won an election. So Joan D. Self is asking the question, how then is the righteous supposed to rule? The righteous is never supposed to rule anywhere. The righteous rule in terms of the millennial reign, which is when Yeshua the Messiah returns with the saints who are beheaded, Revelation. He comes back and he rules with them for 1,000 years. The righteous were never supposed to rule anywhere. Alright? All these things you were told in churches to get you all hyped and tell, oh, we the head and not the tail. No, we're not the head and not the tail. Yeshua is called the head and not the tail because of Yahweh's covenant with them. But that aside, there was an agreement among 3 people. Barra Jagdeo, David Granger, and the chairman of GECOM. Okay. The agreement was that they're going to have a recount of all 10 from Region 1 to Region 10. I hope you heard me. That was an agreement published across the world. All of us saw it. There was an agreement that there shall be a recount from 1 to 10. And I'm saying to you again, David Granger, Barra Jagdeo, Chief Justice Harper, and GECOM chairman had no right to talk about any recount. It was an illegal act. according to article, I think it's 140 of the People Representative of the People Act, the court cannot intervene in the electoral process. The court is petitioned after the process is finished. That's what you call an election petition. But somebody decides in Guyana that they don't want to wait for any election to be considered concluded and for a ruling to be made by the chairman or announcement to be made by the chairman. No, they don't want to go that far because they believe, as I said, that if we only do that, Granger will hold on to power. So let's forget about the law and let's do something in between that. That throws the law out of the window. And here we have persons who are involved in what was illegal. You cannot agree to a recount of anything unless there is a determination by GECOM. Not by a person, by the commissioners of GECOM, that the electoral process was fraudulent in some way. Now, I have not heard anybody say the process was fraudulent. I did not hear Justice Claudette Singh say that. I did not hear the 6 commissioners sit and say we had a meeting. We have observed the statements of poll. We've compared those that were sent to us by presiding officers. We compared those that were sent to us by those that were declared by the 10 returning officers. And we've concluded that there was this great discrepancy to the extent whereby we have to have an assessment of the poll in terms of a recount. Nothing. You cannot have an agreement of that nature. Now, David Granger's intentions were good in that he didn't want to say, well, listen, I'm some bulldozer here trying to take power, so let's have a recount. But his intentions being good doesn't make it law. Guyana is not governed by good intentions. Guyana is governed by law. So this has thrown everything into a tailspin. And I said to you that what will happen if whenever people circumvent or go around a law, you have to create laws along the way. For example, if the law says you have to drive on the left-hand side of the road, and you decide that you don't want to drive on the left-hand side of the road, you drive all the way down the right-hand side of the road all the time, you'll have to invent laws about how you will drive. When a vehicle is coming in your direction head on, you have to decide whether you run in somebody else's lane, you run off the road, you drive into a pedestrian lane, all that. So you have to decide, because you're not doing what is lawful, you have to decide what is going to happen as you go along. Justice Claudette Singh wanted to be the good mother and say, listen, we don't have to fight over this. Let's just go back and count these ballots and get over with it. It doesn't work that way. It never worked that way in law. The law is very specific. If any party has an issue, any candidate has an issue with the declarations made by the RO, they file a petition within 24 hours, by midday of the following day, and then, of course, you have got the right to have a recount, which is supervised by the RO. That aside, we are here where they agree to recount. Recount means something was counted before. My English cannot be that bad. Recount means something was counted before. Has GECOM, in terms of its head, leadership, have they declared what was counted? For you to say there is going to be a recount, there has to be a proclamation of the count. That didn't happen either. But there's a petition filed. There's an agreement to have this recount. People still went ahead and asked the US to sanction Guyana in terms of its leadership without having a recount. So my question is this: what if when there's a recount of these ballots, you discover that APNU AFC did win, or they have won by a larger margin? What do you do then? Should the US sanction those who've been forcing them to sanction Granger and others? The action shows, and this I'm on in the church, the action shows that there are people who intend to not accept anything that GECOM says. Nothing. They are persons who are intent on saying that regardless of what happens when you recount, we will say you have cheated. Unless we are declared winners, anything else is considered rigging. So the persons who are saying in the church that GECOM, because they do not wish to stream the recounting process, live stream it, GECOM is going to rig again. And Bar Jagdeo is now seeing where Claudette Singh's heart is. And that's an issue that I have. I have an issue if Bharat Jagdeo, the leader of the opposition, is going to say that because Claudette Singh is not doing what he wants, her mind is in a bad place. And Phyllis Jordan, who is supposed to be the only Christian candidate for president, has the nerve. I believe that her Facebook page is hacked, because I can't believe that a Christian who wants to be president would function like that. Somebody needs to ask Phyllis Jordan if her Facebook page is hacked. Because for you to have somebody who say they're supposed to be Christian and leader of the country, how in the world could you say that you would like to have live streaming of this process when you already saw what live streaming did at Ashman's building? So Rosie Abraham Racine is asking a question that I know will come up. If APNU won, why are they so afraid to declare who won? No one should not be afraid. Who said who said somebody was afraid? And I'm going to tolerate you for a second, hoping that you don't understand what you're asking me. Who said that somebody is afraid to declare something? Persons who are prevented from having an official commissioner's declaration, which would be the chairman, because all 10 regions were already declared. So I understand. I'll tolerate you for a minute if you prove to be somebody who just want to be stupid. I won't speak to you anymore. But for the sake of you saying, most people are saying somebody's afraid to declare the results. Nobody's afraid of anything. Nobody has expressed fear. There was interference by the court. Understand the difference? The court intervened illegally in a process that was not completed. That is not fair. That is illegality. So understand, fix your statement right, please. Article 140 of the Representation of the People Act does not permit the court to intervene in an electoral process unless and until the declaration is made by the chairman. Then there can be a petition. Shalom all. Now we have a problem here whereby I'm saying, Jagdeo is saying, unless this is live streamed, oh, he knows where Claudette Singh's mind is. And then Phyllis Jordan, the Jesus preacher who wants to be president, is saying that people, whoever wants to see the live streaming must hit her up so she could give them the link to live stream. What manner of nonsense is happening in Guyana? How can you take the risk of streaming live to ignorant people? They don't know the law. So you're going to put, thank you Lester, you're going to put information about elections. So let's say there's a disagreement at Arthur Chang Convention Center. And while they're counting, there's a debate as to whether some ballot is valid or invalid. And there's a debate between two commissioners. Phyllis Jordan, who wants to be president of Guyana, is saying that she would stream that to the whole world. So the world can see that there's an argument occurring over a ballot. Obviously, if you stream live, person will have real-time feeding of what's happening in the rooms. So there, what would they say? Oh, somebody's cheating. Then the same foolishness that happened in Region 4 will happen across the world again, where persons are able to see that there is something wrong. And GECOM has tried their best, in terms of Claudette Singh, to tolerate too much. I'm not taking up any position, Elizabeth. The most I will do is maybe be some advisor, probably, to if anybody requires of me or Yahweh lets me do so. But I'm not going to stand in any political office in this country. Because I was approached, and let me say this to you, I was approached by many political parties before elections. And I was asked by some, hey, you give us some time, let certain things run its course, and you would become a presidential candidate, hands down, or you should be presidential candidate. Guyana needs a man who's strong. I said it without reservation. Number one, I will jail half of y'all. You don't want me to be president, because I guarantee that some of y'all will sleep in jail for the rest of your life. Thank you, Yolanda, for the question. That's my point. Which other country live streams that happens behind closed doors at an electoral level? This is not about APNU AFC. This is about the integrity of Guyana. How could you have somebody who says that she follows the Lord and she stands for righteousness, and you want to do something so unrighteous, whereby you facilitate chaos? How could ignorant people judge the outcome of an election? They don't know the law. They are so foolish that they believe that returning officers generate statements of poll. That's how stupid people are. And you want to show them? You, Phyllis, want to show them streaming when they don't even understand the basics of the law in Guyana? Statements of poll are issued by presiding officers and nobody else. You're yet to tell people that. Bless you, Kev. But Yahweh has said it, that there shall be great confusion because of David Granger's failure to act before. And there is great confusion because they don't know what they want to do right now. They are functioning beyond the ambits of law at this time, and they don't know what to do right now. But it is absolutely insane for anyone to tell me that she is Christian, Phyllis Jordan, and she is going to even envision and suggest that the live streaming, which led to the absolute chaos, that's why people are saying the whole world saw Mingo rigging, because they were streaming live and they were not even paying attention to electoral law. Phyllis Jordan, the Christian president who wants to be president, has recommended or suggested that she will have people stream live, or if they want to stream live, they must hit her up so she could get them to see the whole process. Robeson Ben, the PPP commissioner, said that it will give confidence to the populace if they see the live streaming of the count. No, Robeson, I know you well enough. It will not give anybody any confidence for anything. What it will do is, if anybody, look at the strategy. If I am witnessing a recount, which is not a recount, by the way, because if it's a recount, it means you have to declare what was counted. But I'm issuing a recount. And while I'm doing this recount, I realize that I'm losing, or I will lose significantly. All I have to do if it's being live streamed is say, no, I don't agree with that. You've cheated. The minute I do that, everybody in my camp is going to say yes, because somebody in the room said they were cheating. And that has happened in real time. Persons will rush to the street. Protest begins. There is now another chaos ensuing. Do you understand that? Do you understand how easy it is if this is being live streamed for there to be chaos as soon as somebody thinks we're losing? Somebody from APNU AFC realizes, hey, we're not going to win this. Uh-oh, they're cheating. And they start making noise live for the world to see. And then the process is halted. There's an interruption of the process. Persons rush to the street. Commissioners run out of the room. And then there is another cycle of foolishness. Yahweh has said that there shall be great confusion, but the saints must never have their hand in it. And the saints must never endorse it. That is my point. You have watched the prophecy from 2016 that I gave to the president. If he fails by his authority and his means of influence to ensure that those who were ripping this country off and were killing our children innocently, if he failed to have justice executed against those people, he will have a very tough time in this election. And there shall be great confusion in this election. So here you have it. You are not a true man of God. You're fighting with people and being sarcastically. Get real and stop call God name. That's Rosie Abraham. Rosina told you. So do you realize what they call a real man of God? When you agree with them. You can never have such a sensitive situation occurring where the only people who are by law authorized to determine whether a ballot is right or not in this process right now is GECOM. Nobody else. Nobody else. The Guyanese populace is not GECOM because half of you are ignorant of the law. I just told you that. You don't know the basic, the most fundamental elements of the electoral process. Imagine you saying that GECOM has rigged. That's how stupid you are and want to have the live streaming. If GECOM has rigged the election, it means, I told you before, that you have to begin with Claudette Singh rigging the election. You have to begin with Bibi Shadiq, Sayes Gunraj, Robeson Ben, the PPP party. They rig election because they're in GECOM too. Then you have to continue with Trotman, Vincent Alexander, and Corbyn. All 7 at the top rig election. Then come down to the CEO, Lowenfield rig election. Then come to all 10 returning officers because that's GECOM too. Then go down to the presiding officers because they rigged it too. Then go to the assistant presiding officers. So all officers who work for GECOM have rigged the election. That is how stupid, insane, and idiotic you people are. And you want to have video streams for you to say who won and who lost. That makes sense. That makes sense to Phyllis Jordan. That makes sense. Where people would say that GECOM is rigging the election because GECOM is not streaming live. That makes sense. How many of you know election law in Guyana? How many of you know the Representation of the People Act? How many of you know the articles therein? How many of you who are saying from the PPP Civic, unless GECOM streams live, they've cheated? How many of you know what the law is? How many from APNU, AFC who say, we want to see for ourselves what they're saying? How many of you know what the law is? Because both you are equally ignorant for the greater part. But you're fighting over something because you want to have a part whereby if ever it appears that your party is not winning, there can be chaos starting from your house. And that's exactly what you all want. And I cannot believe that Phyllis Jordan can be this dense in the name of trying to establish truth and righteousness. If you want truth, if you want righteousness, let the law take its course. The guardians of democracies fail to realize that GECOM functions by democracy too. Because in GECOM, there's 7 persons who vote, the chairman and the 6 commissioners. If 4 out of 7 have voted, then that's the majority. So for those kind of scum, just stream the thing live for ignorant people. For ignorant people to give judgment. No, the law does not prohibit GECOM from streaming an outcome. Wisdom prohibits GECOM from doing it. If you're going to have 7 persons who vote, and 4 out of 7 say that they do not want something to happen, you guardians of democracy must respect that, because that's democracy. But you're against it. As long as it doesn't subscribe to your desire, they're rigging. That's how ludicrous you people are, to say that unless it's happening for you, it's not democracy. I did not know that democracy only functioned in one direction. I thought democracy was that people rule in terms of a majority. So if 4 commissioners of GECOM agree that something should happen, that is it. That's democratic. That's what the law says. So first kind is that, and all you ask same stupid question thinking I'd say something different. So what happened to 33 and 34? The same garbage. I cannot believe, and maybe if you follow me, you won't ask a stupid question publicly to me. If you have 65 members in parliament and 33 voted, that's the majority. Any idiot who stood up to say that 33 is not a majority of 65 is a fool. Now how do you feel? Because you're expecting me to say no, it's 34. It will help some of y'all to research before you come to my page thinking I'm supporting some political party. I said it, that the fact that politicians who want my children to go to school and learn math could stand and argue and pay millions of dollars to say that 33 is not greater than 32, they should all be fired. How do you feel now? Because I told you all that from the beginning. It's an insult to me as Guyanese. For politicians, ministers in government, to say that 33 is not greater than 32, and you want my child to learn under your leadership? I have to go to court to argue if 33 is greater than 32? You're barking up the wrong tree for wrong one. Go find some other political crony. Don't come to this one, because my conscience is as clearer than your stupidity. I don't tolerate nonsense. Don't come my page asking me garbage. APNU AFC lost the no confidence motion. Period. Now what? What does that have to do with what I'm saying now? If there's 7 commissioners and 4 voted, you can't tell me you have to round up to 5. 4 is greater than 3. And if 4 have agreed that they should proceed with the electoral process, then the 3 has to hush. That's called democracy. Now you're gone, huh? You vanished from my page, can. Come back. Don't leave. Come back and say something else. Our country has a serious problem now. This will make some of you people get mad. Now, by the way, one of you threatened my life already. One of you threatened that you're going to pay me a visit and you'll come to kill me. I'm still waiting. I can't see you show up till now. It's almost a month. And I don't go to police about that. I'm not the kind of preacher who got 5 bodyguards and all that kind of stuff. You could show up to my yard if you want to threaten my life. I told the person, if you're coming to pay me a visit, ensure you bring barbecue sauce, you bring a lot of malt, because I like to drink malt products, bring a lot of ice, because obviously coming for a picnic. But since we're under this COVID-19 situation, I said, I don't know if you're coming to my yard clean, so I'm going to have a drum of boiling water to boil you in for at least 1 minute. Ensure that you have no COVID-19 on you, then you can come in my yard. I'll boil you in front of the yard and ensure that you're sanitized with hot water. Then you could come into my yard and we could sit and have barbecue and talk. I don't fear people threatening my life. You threatened to kill me because I said you must uphold the law. Imagine the guardians of democracy. One of them has threatened my life because I said that you must uphold the law. That's the kind of Guyana we're living in. When I said we should abide by the article of the Constitution of the law, I am threatened with death And you're a guardian of democracy. Just don't forget the barbecue sauce, the malt, and the ice. Bring the 3. I'll provide the chicken. And you come in my yard, I'll have the drum of boiling water to deal with you to ensure that you're sanitized and then you can come inside. I don't fear any one of y'all. I fear none of you. I don't drive with bodyguard. I fear none of you. I don't fear fools. You don't have a recount. The recount hasn't started yet. And y'all are petitioning for the US to sanction people? Sanction them for what? Because they're not doing what you want. That's the bottom line. They're not doing what you want. And please share the broadcast because they're persons who don't get me live. So if you don't mind, you can share it. Now, while you're at this, while y'all are asking people to sanction Guyana, ExxonMobil has landed a 787 jet at CGIA with their employees, 50 of them, to come and go onto the platform to extract some more oil. Right. Imagine you talking to the US to sanction us, and the US company is sending workers here to go and extract some more oil. You really think the US is going to let Guyana suffer, huh? And destroy this country when they have the oil platform out there? This is the height of idiocy. If you are going to say that the elected authority, GECOM's commissioners, they are not supposed to abide by the law regarding the elections, something is wrong with you. And if you're in the church and you're going to subject yourself just because of emotion, either side, APNU, FC or PPP, and your subjection in terms of your emotion is that it doesn't matter, they have to win at all costs, you are wicked. Let the process proceed. In the first place, this whole recount business is garbage. It is nonsense. It is unlawful. So GECOM has decided, the officials in GECOM, that Mingo is gone. The Region 4 returning officer is out. On what grounds? On what grounds? Your removing Mingo suggests, number one, that you believe that he has something to do with the issues that arose. Or number two, that you vetted something in terms of statements of Paul and found his actions to be very, very, very fraudulent. Or number three, you're just afraid that people have an issue saying that Mingo will rig again. Whatever the reason, with Mingo present or with Mingo absent, my point is the law must be adhered to. And there is no law that states that any public person or citizen of this country, in terms of the general masses of people, have any right to scrutinize the work of GECOM and rule in the work of GECOM. There is no law that states that the general public has the right to determine whether GECOM has done the right thing or the wrong thing. The court does that. Now, I'm about to say something that makes somebody very angry, and I don't mind. Now, Victor Singh and others, if you come on my page here, don't be disrespectful to any female. I don't play that. Keep your mother talk and stuff for somewhere else. I don't do that kind of stuff. Go Cool Buru. Do Not Sing. Have you ever heard those two names? Go cool Budu. Do not sing. Both have said, when they were in authority at GECOM, both have said that the only recourse that the PNC at that time had, I didn't say it, and you can ask Jagdio and the others to tell you what they said. The only recourse that the PNC had, and then the PNC reform had, was an election petition. They said you have to allow us to make the declaration. You have to allow us to make the announcement. Once we finish with this announcement and we've made the pronouncement as to who would have won the election, you are free to approach the court with an election petition. Gokul Budu and Do Not Sing both were well aware. Joe Singh, all were well informed about the law and the process of election. All three. Not me. Okay, Victor Singh has been blocked. I don't normally do this, but for this reason, I'll deal with some people differently. The Messiah's name is not Jesus, by the way. So, but that's not discussion. The Messiah's name is Yeshua. So, Jesus is not in charge of anything here. Because Phyllis Jordan deals with Jesus and she can't tell the truth till now regarding who gave her the statements of poll that she claimed came from a major party. But let's speak to Do Not Sing, Gokul Budu, and Joe Singh as well. All of these people understood clearly that the only recourse that you have when you're dealing with GECOM is the process is completed, then there is an election petition that follows. So there'll be an argument that says, hey, but when we file this election petition, nothing will happen. What happened with Desmond Hoyt and Janet Jagan? Did he not file a petition? What happened? Did she not rule and transfer the power to Jagdeo? And still, then is when Claude Singh ruled that the elections were null and void? So 2015 is different from 1997? That's exactly my point. The church is either going to be upright and honest, or the church is going to hush its mouth and sit in the corner. I'm talking to the church. The church deals with fairness and justice. The church doesn't deal with injustice. Rashad is asking before I leave, if APNU win, why won't they recount? Think about your question for a second, Rashad Hussein. If your account is true, but maybe a fake account, but somebody's typing behind it. If APNU would have won, why would they recount if they've won? Does that make sense to you? Has the PPP Civic ever recounted anything when they won? If I have won something, what's there to recount? Because to recount means that I've already been established as the winner. Have they? No, John. GECOM don't need Jesus. Jesus is not named the Messiah. And Yeshua doesn't need politics. If APNU would have won, they would have had to been declared winners. Have they? No. That's exactly my point. Nobody has been declared the winner in this electoral process, which is why you should not have a recount in the first place. You cannot have a recount if the count is not established. That's exactly my point that I'm making. So you've come to ask me a question that establishes my point. Now my final point to you is this, people. In the future, there should be And that's what people like Phyllis Jordan and all these clowns. They should be. If you want to have opportunity to be the president of Guyana and you want to participate in the general and regional elections, let me make this clear to you. There has to be, if you ask me, an examination where the candidates for any party must sit before nomination day and write an exam set by GECOM to prove their competence regarding electoral law. Because the level of ignorance I see coming from these people, it's just puts Guyana in a place of laughter across the world. Rajendra Prasad is asking, if APNU win, why they don't show their SOPs? Can you tell me which part of electoral losses is supposed to do it? That's exactly what I said, and you people want to watch live streaming now. Which law states that any party must show its SOPs? Statements of poll. It's not SOPs, it's statements of poll. There's no S at the end. Rajendra, all of the parties, if you have 50 political parties in Guyana vying for election, all of them can show their statements of poll, and it doesn't matter because the party statements of poll do not determine who won an election. The only legally acceptable statement of poll come from GECOM. Do you understand that? Can you comprehend that? I doubt you can. No party has to show anything. Now I'm saying again, in the future, I would highly recommend that if anybody wants to be president of this country, they must have a passing grade in an examination regarding election law, because they cannot be allowed to continually make such stupid, nonsensical, garbage-like statements and say they want to lead the country. Vasily Sukai is asking a question. I'll answer questions in a few minutes I have left. Where you can get the SOP from? Exactly my point. Now you're asking a sensible question. GECOM's SOP do not come from a party. It do not come from returning officers. All of GECOM's SOP, statements of poll, come from presiding officers. Do you understand that, Vasily Sukai? I hope you understand that. All of the statements of poll that are official come from presiding officers. They don't come from returning officers. Mingo was not a presiding officer. Mingo was a returning officer. So Mingo would have had to been given 849 statements of poll from 849 different people. But yet some of you are here to say utter garbage because you do not know the law. Why Valda signed the document? Ask Valda. Don't ask me why Valda signed anything. Anyone, I say again, some of you may not have heard me say before, any human being in Guyana who's involved in electoral fraud should be put before a death squad and shot. Now, John, can you swallow that? I hope you can swallow that. I hope you can eat that, what I just said. That's how serious I am about this. Anybody, from the president right down, any human being who's been proven to be involved in electoral fraud should be executed. You should not be allowed to live because you cost this country money. However, according to the law, there are certain agents who are authorized to verify by signature certain statements. Which is why I said to you, Phyllis Jordan suggests, no, don't jail them. Pandichan, I'm not talking about jail. I said they should be killed, not jailed. To feed a prisoner in Guyana and to care for a prisoner, it costs us $2,000 plus US per month. Close to $400,000 are spent on prisoners in this country. I, as a taxpayer, don't want to feed any such person. They should be killed. Both sides. I don't care which side you're from. Anybody involved in electoral fraud in Guyana should be killed. It should be a treasonous act because you've put our country on an international scale for laughter. I'm not killing them in any prayers, Elizabeth. I'm killing them with a gun. They should be shot. That's what I recommend. They should be put before a firing squad and shot. Now, let me conclude my broadcast, please. The reason why I facilitated certain questions on this broadcast and answered them was to prove my point regarding Phyllis Jordan's suggestion and Robeson Ben's suggestion that it should be live streaming of the recount. The fact that persons on this broadcast, just a small number, can be asking such idiotic questions and making such foolish statements, it should tell you why there should not be anything called streaming live to the Guyanese public, because they do not know the law. When persons in Guyana are going to say that Guyana does not have a president, it tells me how crazy you are and why I said again that you people should stay as far away as possible from elections. Guyana will always have to have a president. Always. The country cannot be without a president. Now, in the light of this COVID-19 situation, you've got persons who are going to the U.S. Embassy asking for the president to be sanctioned when we have a pandemic on our hand. Imagine that. Imagine, and I have not heard Phyllis object to that. I have not seen anybody else come out in the U.S. Embassy say, hey, y'all need to quit with this. I didn't see any of the preachers who were so loud before in prayer coming out to say, how in the world can y'all suggest that the president of this country be sanctioned, put under all this pressure when we have got COVID-19 to deal with? Imagine we have Guyanese walking our streets with the mentality that says that they are prepared to have U.S. intervene in our affairs at this time when we are incapable of dealing with 50 critical cases for COVID-19 at this time. Somebody say Guyanese critic is asking for live stream to do what? What authority does critic have to analyze electoral processes and law? What has been allowed to happen in Guyana is that people were allowed, because of the initial live streaming foolishness, people were allowed to think that they have authority to determine who won when they have no clue about the law. That's exactly what has where we are today. Because people are of the view that whatever their party says is right. Why would you stream an event that is so volatile at this time to people who are ignorant of the intricacies of the legality of the whole process, and you're streaming to them? So do they understand what a spoiled vote is? Do they understand that a ballot can be considered invalid because of some discrepancy along the line? Do they understand that, oh, this is a big one. Do Guyanese understand that you can have the two elections that are involved in one here, the general election and the regional election, do you understand it's possible for one party to win a general election but lose a regional election? Half of you clowns don't understand that who want to fight for live streaming. You have no clue. Because your view is if somebody vote for APNU AFC for general, they have to vote for APNU AFC for regional. That's how idiotic the reasoning is of many people. People don't know that by law, one group can win, have a landslide victory in the general election, and they can be beaten severely in a regional election. It is unlikely, but it is entirely lawful. So, what monitoring are you all doing of these people if you don't even understand electoral law? What are you monitoring? What are you monitoring? Those of you watching by live stream, do you know what a valid ballot look like? Do you know what are the secret codes around that ballot that can be verified as to whether it was fake or authentic? Do you all know that? Would you be vetting the ballot? I know the plan. The plan is likely to be that as long as a party recognizes they're going to lose, they're going to scream in the room, make noise and walk out and then call the press. Come, y'all come. They were just cheating in the room. And once they do that, then the entire nation is thrown into riot mode. While we have COVID-19 on our hand, can you imagine people leaving their house in Georgetown in mass to run to the street because they feel the party is being cheated? While we have COVID-19 and Georgetown is the epicenter? Can you imagine people going out there to protest because they feel that their party is being cheated because of some live stream and they saw two commissioners going back and forth? Can you imagine what happened to us in Georgetown? Can you imagine what will happen if one of GECOM's commissioners from either side should point to somebody in the room and say, you cheating? That person's life is on the line right now because the people threatening people's life. I tell you that. Can you imagine the safety risk involved when people are live streaming faces of persons counting ballots? And Phyllis Jordan behind this foolishness saying she agrees to it? And preachers are saying, yes, Phyllis, give me the link. I want to see it. Okay, Joni Silva is blocked. I've had enough of her own garbage. There are people who, when they walk out of that Arthur Chung Convention Center, their life is threatened if their face is known. Do I trust the fact that, and what is even more crazy, the GECOM commissioners this time around will be the key people supervising the process. That's why they don't have many tables and stations. If the GECOM commissioners can't get it right, Guyana is in a dung heap. If the GECOM commissioners who would be supervising this process, if they can't get it right, we don't need GECOM anymore. Let's go back to the tribal days. Everybody fight, whoever wins, you in charge. Because it cannot be a case in which you've got commissioners overseeing a process and you still can't trust them. Those who know the electoral law are yet to sit on national television, I've asked before, to tell the whole country, all 7 of them, especially the 6, Grobson Ben, Says Gunraj, Bibi Shadiq, Trotman, Vincent Alexander, and Corbyn. All 6 of them should sit on television and tell the whole public what the law is about the electoral process. They can't do that yet. They cannot do that because they don't want you to know what the law is. All 6 of them. Let them sit and tell you which part of the law gives any one of them the right to just throw a process out the window and say, forget about that. We don't know about that. We just recount as if the first count didn't take place. Let them tell us always which part of the law gives them that right. Let them tell us which part of the law gives the chairman the right to make a decision to recount anything without consulting the commissioners, without there being a vote amongst commissioners. Let them tell us where in the law you can have 10 regions declared and the CEO can't file a report until today. Let them tell us where in the law that GECOM can have statements of polls sitting in an office and none of the commissioners scrutinize them all. But they could go and say, let's have a recount. Let them tell us from the law where that is permitted. GECOM is weakened because GECOM is afraid of being deemed the ones to cause trouble in Guyana. So let's do everything possible so people could feel okay. The law states, Article 162, that GECOM has the power, not CARICOM, not the U.S. Embassy, not Granger, not Jagdeo. GECOM is the only entity with the power to say whether the elections were transparent or not transparent in their view. And then they make provisions. See, somebody said the CEO report is with the chair, and what have they done? Have they ruled on the report? That's the point I'm making. Thank you, Sean Dublin. Have they ruled on that report? Have they brought the statements of poll that the commission has and said, these are our numbers, this is the numbers given to us by the CEO. What do we have? Is there discrepancy in region 4 for real? Is there discrepancy in region 5? Is there discrepancy in region 10? I have not heard of that. GECOM cannot operate in a manner whereby they continue to adjust and make all kinds of bends and twists just to make one side feel okay. I've had enough of that foolishness. Let the process be legal in its nature. And let us all abide by what is legal. Surprising to some of you and very uncomfortable for some of you will be my closing statement. Whether APNU AFC wins or PPPC wins, it does not bother me because my well-being and my sustenance is in Yahweh, the only true and living God. Men don't determine my future. Yahweh said he sets up kings and he puts them down. So I don't care about APNU AFC, PPPC, PRP, any one of you. I care about what is lawful and what is right. My sustenance, my help, my shalom, which is my peace, my righteousness is not found in men. It is found in Yahweh alone. Yeshua HaMashiach alone. I do not need a political party to survive in Guyana. And none of you could do anything to me unless Yahweh permits it. So I don't fear any one of y'all. I don't need political favors from you. Whatever I ask of you is my right as a citizen. You don't give it to me, I shall expose you publicly because you want to be treacherous and wicked. Whether it is APNU AFC that would have, and many of you preachers can't say that, including Phyllis. Whether it's APNU AFC, whether it's PPP, whether it's PRP, whatever the P is, I am not reliant on you for my well-being. My help, I will look to the hills from whence comes my help. My help comes from Yahweh, not Lord. That's not his name. My help comes from Yahweh, the maker of heaven and earth. I don't look to men for sustenance. I don't look to men for protection. He is my shield. He is my buckler. He is my exceeding great reward. What must I fear regarding men when Yahweh is with me? So don't come down this preacher street here thinking I need some party to win. But Yahweh is a God of justice. Yahweh is a God of righteousness, and I support righteousness. We are going to abide by the law. That's what I'm here to tell the church. Abide by the law. While the prophecy is being fulfilled before your eyes, that there will be great confusion. There's great chaos, as you can see it. All them who said Nigel London is false, you're biting your tongue now. But you can't deal with the fact that everything was absolutely true. Clyde Edwards, who's God? Every God has a name. My God's name is Yahweh. I don't know who's God. God is a term called ruler or deity. Clyde Edwards is here. Nigel London is false. There you go. I give Yahweh praise. I give Yahweh glory. There had to be one. Hallelujah. But we're going to abide by what is right. I'm going to always cry for what is right. I'm going to always speak up for what is right. I don't have party bias. I don't have a party ticket. I'm not a party member. But the saints in the kingdom, you should never involve yourself because of your race in any political foolishness and stifle your conscience. Let us abide by what is right. Half you preachers can't talk because you've been in church praying hard for Granger to win. Imagine you were a preacher. You were a leader, say, preaching from the Bible, and got people wearing David Granger's shirt to church and dress up on Sunday, on Saturday. Yet you wonder why this country is in so much trouble. You have idolatry in the church. They're coming to the church that you call the house of God, dressed in people clothes and party colors, and in red and gold and black with PP colors. You are in the church and you're all divided by politics, and you can't talk now. I could speak. Yahweh hates idolatry. You cannot tell me that all y'all serve the same God, but one said say PPP must win, another say FC must win. You got bishops who can't talk. General bishops who can't talk. Because your hope is in politics. My hope is in Yahweh. My hope is in Yahweh alone. But I would not sit here and see injustice on display and be quiet about it. Jagdeo does not govern Guyana. And it's immature for him to say that because Claudette Singh doesn't want to stream live and doesn't want to do what he wants, it shows where her mind is. She's supporting Apton AFC. What man of garbage is that? So she's only good when she does what Jagdeo wants? This country is not owned by Barrett Jagdeo. Raul Morel, the law is not sin according to the Bible. I wouldn't even tolerate you for quite a while, for long. The scripture says there's something called the governing authority. They have laws that you have to abide by. Romans 13, read it, it will help you. Goodbye. Thank you for your time. Clyde Edwards is blocked. But I will leave him because he said Jagdeo is God. So that could stay right there for people to see how these people process. Goodbye. If you don't mind, please share this broadcast so that they can know where I stand and where you stand as a saint. Our help is in Yahweh. Our help is not in men. And as righteous people, we uphold what is righteous. Let GECOM do its work. Get the process over with. Anybody involved in skullduggery and wickedness must be dealt with to the highest degree of the law, the full extent. I fear none of you. You fear losing. Why should I fear you? Goodbye, and thank you for your time.